From the Hill, Trump floats friendly takeover of Cuba. President Trump on Friday suggested the U.S. could carry out a friendly takeover of Cuba, as the president has used a fuel blockade to increase the pressure on the communist regime in Havana. The Cuban government is talking with us. They're in a big deal of trouble, as you know. They have no money, no anything right now, Trump told reporters. Maybe we'll have a friendly takeover of Cuba. We could very well end up having a friendly takeover of Cuba. Trump imposed a fuel blockade on the island in an executive order at the end of January in a push to collapse the regime, which relies heavily on energy and food imports. The United Nations top official for Cuba warned on Wednesday that daily life on the island is becoming fragile with increased strains on healthcare, water services, and food distribution. U.S. officials reportedly met Thursday with the grandson of 94-year-old former President Raul Castro, considered the de facto leader of the totalitarian regime, on the sidelines of a conference in the Caribbean attended by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio has got to be excited about this. Mm-hmm. You know, with his Cuban heritage, he's had pretty critical words for Cuba. I think most presidents generally are fairly critical, except for maybe Barack Obama. But, you know, considering the history that the United States and Cuba has, what do you guys think the chances of Cuba becoming a territory are?
I think they're relatively high and growing. And I know a lot of Cubans are in large favor of this, whether they fled Cuba to come here or whether they're still in Cuba. I know that this is a very popular position among a lot of them. So
it's an interesting aspect of like the immigration debate, because we've talked pretty heavily about the idea of, you know, moratorium on immigration. We can't have, well, you know what I'm saying, right? But the people who still do hold that kind of overly romanticized idea of immigration to the United States, the Cuban immigrants are the ones that they hold that for, because so many of them risked so much to come here and, you know, kind of take in and really portray American values. But I somehow don't see this happening. But I'm also team nothing ever changes, so it's possible.
Would Cuba becoming a territory of the United States count as change?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I wasn't sure how.
Do we have Greenland yet? You guys paid more attention to politics than me.
We don't have Greenland, but there is an agreement that is alleged to have been drawn up where the U.S. will have an increased military presence to defend against Russia, and the Golden Dome is going to happen. So I think the whole Greenland thing was like the big ask that Donald Trump does. We're just going to take the whole thing, and really what they wanted was to be able to have more influence on the things like the military situation, and there's a lot of natural resources there. They wanted companies to be able to get in there.
Yeah, the president does a lot of these, like, for lack of a better word, scare tactics, where he just kind of threatens something really, really big, but we actually want a diplomatic issue or diplomatic solution for these things. We don't want all-out war or anything of this sort. Like, we want something to come together relatively peaceful and, you know, something that benefits both sides.
So you think he's just looking to get McDonald's into Cuba?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, so what's the big ask here then? Is it just to get the Cuban cigars out and get them to?
I mean, look.
Or he wants all the cars.
You might want to the climate down there means that all those cars from the 50s are still in generally good condition. But I think that Donald Trump would, if he could actually make it happen, I think he would like to see Cuba become a U.S. territory. I think he probably conceives of it as something like, well, we've got Puerto Rico as a U.S. territory. It's right in the same area. Yeah. Why not? Kind of a deal. And also the fact that the Cuban government has been so inept because of their socialist policies. Like, the Cuban people seem to be pretty interested in getting out of there, getting on a raft made of 2-liter bottles of Coke or whatever to go the 90 miles from Cuba to Miami.
Yeah. So the Castro regime really seized and stole that country for 60 years. And it sounds like, what Raul, did you say, was it 93 years old, Raul Castro?
No.
He's old.
I think so. Raul Castro's like
Fidel's brother.
94.
The late great Fidel Castro's brother is in charge. So I think
just like is crazy.
Just like, you want like great in scope, not necessarily in like ethics, but
sure.
Just like we want to take Greenland to secure the Northwest Passage, and we want Panama Canal to secure trade. We want Middle Eastern security to pass through the Suez. All these things. The Russians would. During the Cold War, that was where their nukes were in Cuba.
Right, yeah, I was just thinking that, yeah.
And so that's a huge liability if we do erupt into some global cataclysmic war. We need to secure Haiti, Dominican Republic, Cuba. All those islands, I think, should be American. It's a very hegemonic, aggressive way to look. But when we got Cuba freed from the Spanish Empire, late 1800s, 1898, I think it was the Spanish-American War. And after that, instead of taking Cuba, and we decided we're going to make Cuba a free state. They can do what they want. And then some communist dictator took it. So like, at some point, you kind of got to protect your own, your assets and your localities.
Maybe it's what I said before. Maybe he just really wants Pitbull to do the Super Bowl halftime show.
I'm so here
and
for
if we're
it.
not, if we're going to have an American do it, we're going to have to take Cuba so that Pitbull can do it.
Yeah,
Mr. Worldwide.
It does make sense with the whole Monroe Doctrine, the focus on the Monroe Doctrine. If you're unaware, the U.S. is kind of looking at Europe and the demographic changes over there, and they're saying in 30, 40 years, Europe's going to be a very different place because of the influx of migrants from the Middle East and North Africa, and they're not really even sure that they share the same values that they used to. There's a lot of the stuff that's going on with free speech over there. So the U.S. has decided they're going to focus more on South America and North America and kind of enforce the Monroe Doctrine. And I mean, this does fall kind of in line with that.
What I'm wondering is that. Sorry if I cut you off.
No, it's fine.
More. I almost want to call it a false flag when these Americans got killed by Cubans like 4 days ago or something. And I'm like overloaded with information with the news, so I didn't really look into it. I'm like, is this another false flag? A Bay of Pigs, the Bay of Pigs invasion?
Bay of Pigs wasn't a false flag. That was a failure.
They tried to get Kennedy to set up a false flag to get an invasion of Cuba in the 60s, and he wouldn't sign off on it. The Joint Chiefs wanted him. It was called Operation Northwoods. Yeah. Okay. And Kennedy refused.
That wasn't a false flag, though.
They wanted him to stage a false flag where they would take what was it, Americans, or take Cubans, dress them up as Americans, and then kill them. And they would be like, look, they attacked Americans. Kennedy wouldn't do it. So I'm like, that's where my head goes to when I hear about Cubans killed Americans, and now that all of a sudden 4 days later, like, yeah, we want Cuba. I'm like, bro, what are they doing? Are they psyoping? And I'm on Team America here, bro. I want to stabilize the region. Unnecessary conflict, down with that, but.
I mean, I'm pretty hardline about, Alberta can't become part of the United States. Totally. We don't want any more. We don't want voting from countries that are generally not conservative and not friendly to our system and stuff. I do think that Cubans probably would be better voters than
actually
than Quebecois.
We have an America's Equal Top Hat. Yeah.
Miami would indicate that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For the most part, I think though they did vote blue in their last mayor, but they flipped, right?
They flipped red in 2024, I believe, and then they voted a Democrat mayor into office this last November. But
well, I mean, does that count as flipping back blue because they voted a Democrat mayor, or what? Like, what's their vote? Or what's their representative?
They had a relatively conservative mayor prior to this, so I mean,
who is Broward County?
Yeah,
is it? I don't know. I don't know who their representative in Congress is, though. Is what I'm saying. Because I think that kind of matters too.
I do think that it would usher in kind of because depending on how hardline you are on immigration, like I was saying earlier, if you're an American who's not necessarily in the space that we're in, where you talk about immigration the way we have, which is like caravans, what it's done to the economy, all of that. If you still have that kind of romanticized ideal, and we've been dealing with so many people coming here and hating to be here, flying the Mexican flag while protesting, last summer.
Yeah, and
so with that going on, they're protesting with Mexican flags to not be kicked out of America.
Yeah.
The idea of people who actually want to come here and want to share the same values that we do, that's going to be very inviting to a lot of Americans who also will be scared of being told that they're racist or they're sexist because they want to clamp down on immigration.
I got a lot of crap because I said Ana de Armas was a brown girl because she's Cuban, and there are a lot of people like, she's white. So I'm not sure the racist thing would
you
stay.
point out, you say it doesn't matter. Like, I don't want somebody coming from Eastern Europe either at this point. Like, nobody should be coming in.
Honestly, I don't really want anybody coming.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm a hardcore immigration restrictionist, at least right now. Like
10 years.
We gotta,
10-year moratorium so we can get off.
Dude, we did this as recently as the 1950s. 40s, Like, I don't understand why it's such a novel concept for most people. And this isn't to say that I hate all immigrants,
people
obviously.
have the brains of goldfish.
No, it's not that. It's literally, well, I mean, it's partially that, but it's also the hatred of America. So you saw the video.
Yes.
You guys had to have talked about it the other day, but the lady who, her and her her partner fled to Canada, found out that the cost of living was too high.
Yeah, and she's
and
begging
then
for
said
Cuban
like, oh,
money.
but we respect the immigration laws here completely. And I was like, look, this could be the one rare example where she's far left on literally everything except immigration, which would have been hilarious. But we can assume what her views are on immigration based on the rest of her beliefs. You can infer. And the idea that you would respect the Canadian immigration rules, but not hold the same truth for your own country is absurd.
But you can blatantly ask the large majority of liberals on the street, like, okay, if I were to go and move into Germany uninvited without proper documentation, should I be allowed to stay? And all of them will say no.
Only
They
with pepper
basically,
spray.
exactly. They basically confirm that you should abide by the laws of every other country when it comes to immigration, except for here.
That's also their own. That's their own weird white supremacy, where they believe that other people are somehow like inferior to us because of what we have as a country. So they would believe that because you're an American, that you have a privilege, so therefore you don't have the right to do that.
have to
Somebody
extend
coming
that
from a poor nation does have that right because they're just higher on the oppression
Well,
scale.
they're coming here for a better life.
Yes.
Always. They're always seeking a better life, and we owe it to them as the most prosperous country in the world to just hand it to them. Even though pretty much for the rest of this country's history, we've had certain immigration laws and customs that we've required everyone to go through so that we retain that status
Yeah,
and
I mean,
retain the quality of
like,
this
bro, I'm searching for a better life.
There's
Same.
supposed to be certain criteria that you meet to be able to come to the United States and become a citizen. It shouldn't just be that you can get to a port of entry and I'm going to claim asylum. Well, you came through other countries to get here. You should be in the first safe country. And we used to have to be like, look, are you a communist? Do you have affiliation with communists? And look, man, I'm all for reinstating the Communist Control Act in 1953. I know there's a couple parts that the Supreme Court said were unconstitutional. They didn't say the whole thing was. So let's get on that, man, because we got problems here.
Well, but like also look, we used to literally kick people out, even if they did come here legally. We used to kick them out of the country for not assimilating.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't employ them, and then we'd kick them out. And honestly, we should get back to that because guess what? You shouldn't come here and bring your garbage third world culture and erode our culture because that's exactly what you fled from.
Preach.
Like I just don't understand why this is such a novel concept for so many people.
Well, sorry, let me just ask this really quick. Puerto Ricans, can they freely travel through the United States?
They're an American territory, so yes.
Okay. So if we'd made Cuba a territory, you talk about immigration like it's just de facto immigration. You immigrate.
Well,
the
I don't
population of Cuba,
necessarily
basically.
know that we should make Cuba an American territory. Like, would I be in favor of doing something similar to what we just did in Venezuela? Maybe. But like, I think it's important that we secure the region, but I don't know that I want to just invite a whole new country of people to just come here freely.
We could just get rid of Puerto Rico and take Cuba.
I would actually be in favor of
swap.
that. I would
Swap,
trade.
yeah.
I would
There you
trade.
I want all the islands.
I want all the cigars.
Yeah, all that bananas they grow down there and sugar and whatever
plantains.
else. Yeah, the coffee. They can get coffee beans down
Cuban
there.
coffee's really good.
So are we thumbs up or thumbs down on Cuba?
Well, yes. I've been
thumbs
waiting
up.
for a
relatively
Cuba to
thumbs
become
up.
American my whole life. I'm just
All right.
surprised it hasn't happened yet.
I'm
I'm wait for the Castros to die, I think.
I'm actually really interested in what process Donald Trump is thinking about. If he, because it's one thing for Donald Trump to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
But like how exactly is he? What does a friendly takeover look like? And obviously he didn't expand on it, so I don't think anyone really knows. It's just Donald Trump kind of bloviating. A
I
little
always
bit.
joke about this. I'm like, I think the president sometimes doesn't even know what he's thinking.
No, he has no idea what he's going to say.
But it always works out. I mean, as far as track records go, I trust him more than any president in my lifetime when it comes to foreign policy by a long, long shot. But I think sometimes the president says things and
He surprises himself.
He surprises himself.
He's like,
but
I never
pretty much
said that.
Always in a good way. And I'm like, I'm here for it.
He'll be like, oh,
I trust you relatively.
I guess I did say that. Someone shows him the video. Like, oh,
Does he get back to
well, I was right.
Exactly.
Does he get back to Air Force One and ask like one of his staffers, like, could you figure out what a friendly takeover would look like so I can actually have the answer next time I have to...
Dude, Marco Rubio's sweating constantly. As soon as Donald Trump gets to the podium, Marco Rubio's just like, oh, God,
He's
I'm going to
be
get
like
another
the governor
job.
of Cuba.
Marco Rubio realizing he has to become Fidel Castro.
Yeah. At least he got a nice role.
I think a friendly takeover would be like a purchase. That would be a purchase, yeah? What other...
I mean, a friendly takeover kind of sounds like a polite theft. Almost.
Well, I'm like, yeah, I don't.
I mean, even that's what a hostile takeover is in business.
I mean, do you just open the doors of Guantanamo Bay and all the U.S. military just rolls out and says, okay, we're in charge now?
Well, see, what I think is going to happen, I think this is the president kind of teasing something. And then the next time it's talked about, or if tensions rise between us and Cuba, it's going to be like, oh, no, we'll come kidnap your president like we did with Venezuela. Like,
It'll be
we'll
way
do
easier
that.
with Cuba than with
Exactly. But it's
Venezuela.
just going to, like, the message that the president is going to portray to Cuba is just going to ramp up, and then it's probably the actual solution is going to be somewhere in the middle. Most likely.
Do you guys think that Trump is hoping that this kind of rhetoric would kind of get the Cuban people to apply pressure to the government? I'm not
Probably.
sure how much
Absolutely.
pressure they can put on the government. I don't know how heavy-handed the Cuban government is against the Cuban people, but like I imagine if they start to be like, hey,
Yeah.
It seems like a reverse big ask. This one, instead of being like, we're going to invade Greenland and we're going to take it, and then he scales it back. We're like, we just want bases. This one, he's like, hey, I just want to be friends. And then later he'll be like, come on, I offered you the peaceful way. Are you sure you're not going to take peace? So he's going
Exactly.
like the other angle.
Yeah.
And I think the people.
Very out of
Well, I really do think the president plays 5D chess most of the time, like truly. I mean, when we look at especially a lot of the negotiations when it comes to like a lot of these foreign conflicts, it always ends up being perfectly fine. Like everyone that just fear mongers about the worst possible scenario, it never ends up being that way. And I'm not saying that like it couldn't happen, obviously. It very well could. We could fall into all-out war with some of these nations. But obviously,
Cuba?
well, not Cuba particularly, but just in the sense of, talking about a lot of these foreign policy issues, and there's a lot of excitement surrounding a good amount of them.
Okay,
You
that's
know.
a
Build a new
very
hotel.
gentle way to put it.
Yes.
Was
He
that?
wants to build a new hotel there,
Yeah,
like Maragaza, except for out in Cuba.
Maragaza.
closer to home that
Yeah.
way.
It has been
I'd rather go to Cuba than
since the liberal economic order took over after World War II. They prevented total war. We haven't had World War III, and that's really promising that it will never happen again. Doesn't mean it can't.
Yeah,
and like
exactly.
so limited conflict all over. Anyway,
What about that?
I'm effervescently concerned with shit spiraling into totalitarian, like
think
total
that-
war.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your concern, but with Cuba, they don't have the backing that they, this isn't the 60s.
There's no Soviet Union.
The Soviet Union. China's not interested. Russia has got their hands full
Castros
with
are
little
gone,
Russia.
basically.
Yeah, this isn't going to be like a missile crisis 2.0 by any means
they're-
necessary. It's really just like essentially applying pressure to the government. Look, like you either fix things or we're going to come in and fix it for you, and that might look a little nicer depending on how compliant you are with us.
Yeah, you'll want to take our
offers.
our package. Yeah,
I think he just wants to.
resign.
I think he wants Burger Kings. He wants to put McDonald's in there. What he wants.
Put McDonald's there, bring the cigars here.
Yeah, there you go.
This is the exchange we're looking
Real
for.
free trade.
It's free trade because Donald Trump's threatening with a military invasion. Let McDonald's in. Let
no.
McDonald's in.
A friendly
All right.
invasion, a gentle, nice invasion.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.